been stressed out from a bunch of things and got a lot going on in my head and stuff, and yeah. Anyway, this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a long time, but I haven't really gotten around to it. It's a little bit weird talking about my problems and things like this online, but fuck, this is my way of venting, I guess. I guess I'm a bit of an attention whore when it comes to that sort of thing, because I feel like I have to actually talk about this shit to somebody. I don't really have people in my life that I talk to about this kind of thing now, and I just feel like sometimes screaming, because it's just the frustration gets so insane, like bottling the shit up, and when it gets to you after a long time, when you're dealing with this sort of thing for years and years. Anyway, yeah, for a long time I've been thinking about, like, wondering where exactly I've fucking stood when it comes to things, like, I mean, it's a little bit crazy these days to still be after this sort of thing, it's like, at my age, I should, like, just logically give up on the whole relationship aspect of life, the chasing females type thing, because it's kind of inappropriate for me to do this now, because I'm, like, over 30, but, it's like a hunger that doesn't go away, like, if you've never eaten, it's like you're starving forever, but you haven't died. So unfortunately the feelings don't go away. They fucking should do, but it's just how it is. And yeah, unfortunately you can't just, like, do something to make it go away. But anyway, for a long time I've actually wondered where I've stood exactly. I remember when I was about 24, I thought that I was, like, pretty much like some other species. I felt like I looked human, like I was sort of treated like a human to a degree in my life, but when it came to relationships and the opposite sex, I felt like I was treated like a fucking alien. I thought I became so isolated from people to that degree that I thought I was another fucking species almost, because it's like, I was like, I've been single for so fucking long, when you're single for your 20th, when your year of your 21st, 22nd, 23rd, like the best years of your life, you start to wonder what the fuck is wrong with you. And you're looking around thinking, you're seeing people who you think look worse than you, and you're getting frustrated, and you're like, how do they do it? Like, how do they do it, but I don't? Like, I just don't understand that sort of thing. So I always wondered about this shit, and then I tried fucking Tinder when I was like 25 or some crap, I can't remember. Now, it was about like 8 years ago I tried it, I think. I don't fucking know. But anyway, and that pretty much put things into perspective for me. Like, at first I didn't really know about the statistics. I didn't really think that girls really thought of most guys as ugly. I didn't realize that most guys weren't really having much success, sort of thing. I just thought, well, like, I didn't realize what, like, a Chad was, like a good-looking guy. I didn't really see the importance about facial structure or anything like that. I was pretty oblivious to that and my own looks level at the time. So that app took me down the dark path of just, like, looking into what makes a face attractive and things like that, and coming to terms with where I was exactly, like, that I wasn't exactly like one of these guys, like some pictures I'd look at myself and think that I look decent, and then I see a photo of, like, a male model, and then I see, oh, that's what I'm missing. It's kind of like, you think that your BMW looks good until you see the Italian sports car, like, you look around you and see a bunch of fucking Hondas and Suzukis, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm competition, it's not too bad, it's like, I look decent, enough. And then you see the fucking Ferrari go past, it's like, oh, I see the picture, it's like, yeah, it's because everybody's got their mind on the car that they don't see, and when you do see it, it blows everything else out of the water, you're just like, holy shit, yeah, I don't stand a chance against that. So, that was the thing, and ever since then, I always felt like so inadequate about myself. Like, when I was younger, I hated my face and my name since I was like 5 years old, and my body. I never really liked who I was, but I never really thought I was particularly ugly. I just thought I was just that guy, maybe like a 6 or a 5, I always thought of myself as being below average just because I was skinny. you know, I didn't think of height as an issue. I wouldn't have cared if, well, if I was like younger, I wouldn't have cared if I was like 5'5", no shit. But I didn't think of height as an issue. I never had this goal to want to be tall, you know, like, I mean, only in recent years have I thought about like height as being a big deal, because height gives you an advantage in a fight. Height discourages people from picking fights with you. You're more physically capable just by being bigger. You know, you don't even have to be particularly good at fighting or anything. If you've got the range of like bigger arms and bigger size, you know, like you're more formidable, you're not going to get thrown down so easily, you know, things like that. You know, unless you're really tall and lanky, you're going to have a lot more weight on you. But you know, the thing is that like I never really thought about this until I went onto dating apps and shit, and you know, and never thought that I was that bad looking. And then comparing myself to like, you know, the male model types and stuff, I realized that, yeah, fuck, you know, everybody wants the 10, but apparently being, you know, okay isn't good enough. You know, even if it's better looking than the girl. But like, I've always just wondered, how far exactly am I from being good enough, you know? Because it's like, if you spend enough time in the black pill communities, you pretty much get the idea that you have to be a 10 or a nothing, or you're nothing, I mean, like, because we used to call it the 80-20 rule, right? Like, it was thought of as top 20% of guys getting the top 80% of girls. That was the original Tinder statistics, which was more like 12%. You know, 80-20 was just easy to say, you know, you don't really call it like the fucking, what's it, like 88-12 rule or something. It just wouldn't really sound as good. But it was only like 12% of men who were considered to be average, and average wasn't good enough. Like, they considered 80% of men as below average, like around 12% or something as being average. And it was something like, you know, we used to say that about how harsh it was to think that you had to be in the top 20% of men in terms of looks to even get an average looking match, you know. But, you know, that was like chaotic. Like, that was very fucking harsh for a lot of guys to take. I think that's one of the hardest things there is, like, in this community, really. But that was nothing, you know. It's more like 80-20 was so fucking generous. It's more like 2 to 5%, really. Like, the studies that have more recently show that, you know, girls are only swiping on top, say, 2 to 5% of men. You know, even being in the top 5% necessarily isn't fucking good enough, you know. I mean, like, I don't understand. Like, I understand that there's conventional, like, level of conventional attractiveness, right? Like, we can all agree on, say, that somebody who looks really ugly looks like ugly or something, you know. But what I can't understand is how only between 2 to 5% of men are considered like good looking enough, and every single girl, without question, thinks the same exact 2 to 5% of guys are on the same fucking level. Like, that's the thing that I don't understand, is how every one of them comes to the same conclusion. You know, that's the weird part for me, that you know, that they collectively all think the same, and collectively they are only willing to break that rule if they're over 30 or if they're overweight. So if she's like white and she's under 30, the only time she'll swipe on anything less than like very top percentage of men is if she's overweight, which is really fucked up that they all have the same way of thinking, that average guy's only good enough if I'm at a disadvantage. That's how they think. If they think that they're at a disadvantage, it's the only time that they'll lower their standards. So that's why you should never date somebody who's fat, because if they get skinny, they will dump you. You know, there's a lot of cases that are like that, you know. It's pretty fucked up. But anyway, I'm not really making this to go on about things. But what I'm trying to say with this video really is I'm trying to wonder how the hell I really go about finding out what level I'm on. Because I used to go on that fucking site Reddit. I hate Reddit, man. I won't go near it these days unless I'm trying to find out information about like medical stuff or for a car, or, you know, general information and things like that. But, you know, I think as much as Tinder fucked me up like throughout the years, just killed my self-esteem, I think Reddit's one of the things that did just about the same almost, because all of these dickheads on there are these blue pill dickheads. What I mean by blue pill, for anybody who doesn't know, is just people who are, you know, they don't really think about things logically. They just go with the stereotypical answers, you know, that society has taught them and brainwashed them from when they're a child, you know, like saying, oh, if you buy roses, if you be a nice, upstanding guy, you'll fucking, you know, you just need to have a good personality, all this fucking horse shit, you know. And then when you do have a good personality and you complain that you still don't have it, you get called a nice guy and said that you're not really nice, you're just being nice so you can, you know, because what we're expected to do if we're not attractive is we're expected to just, you know, go through life, put up with shit and never complain. And if you complain, you're just a nice guy, apparently. That's just how they fucking see it, you know. If you're a decent guy, you spend all your life being it. Like if you're a relatively decent guy and you never get anything, you're bound to complain, and when you do, you get shut down for it by, you know, saying, oh well, you're not really a nice guy, you're just entitled because you should just shut up and just take your shit sandwich and just choke it down and just forget about it, you know, and just rot alone. Because society doesn't give a fuck about guys who complain, let alone depressed ones and things like that. Anyway, I'm straying away from the subject as I usually do. But the thing is that I used to go on there because I'd try and figure out where I would stand. And the problem with fucking the internet is that places like Reddit are the only places that you can go on and actually ask a general, like a decent amount of people a question, you know, like about something, because there's not really another website that seems to be like that, really, that I've found anyway. I mean, there's one called Girls Ask Guys and stuff, but you're asking like something and you're waiting like maybe a couple of weeks or so for an answer, and it doesn't really have as many people going through there as it does. And what I can tell from that website, I think as well, is that it's more to do with, say, teenagers and really young people. So you're not really going to be getting the kind of answers you want from people who are a bit more around your age gap, or, you know, say 20s or something anyway. But yeah, the thing is that I used to go on there and I'd post a bunch of photos and shit, you know, like dating bloody page or whatever it is, advice or something. And I'd say, you know, like, I just want to know how far away I am from things. I would, you know, write the story about how my fucking life was and whatever, you know, no sympathy at all. And you know, what they do is just bait you into saying something that fits their category of you know, something that will trigger their response, and then they'll just blame your personality. So it's like they'll give you this condescending advice about how you just need to fucking change your haircut, your hair looks bad, blah blah blah, or who the hell wears jackets. You know, I used to have people say, oh, what do you wear jackets for? Like, jackets are the best fucking piece of clothing a man can fucking have, you dickhead. You know, like, I mean, I've got like tons of jackets. I think this one's pretty fucking nice. But I got like brown like leather ones and shit. Like, oh, this one jacket I've probably had about 15 compliments from people on, and I never get compliments on clothing, but this one jacket I get. Like, anyway, I just love jackets. But like, the thing is, I used to have people saying shit like that. People saying, oh, you know, you're not wearing the right coloured t-shirts. Like that matters. You go to bars and pubs and things, you know, most guys are just wearing some plain $10 t-shirt they bought at the warehouse, or like some your average short sleeve collared shirt or something like that, you know. Like, some of them might wear tidy shirts, but they don't wear shirts as nice as I do most of the time. You know, I dress up when I go to places like that, you know, but like, I don't know. Anyway, what I'm saying is that they just say shit about clothing. I had one dickhead say to me, oh, just fucking shut up and get a haircut. It's like, I'd literally taken the photo the day after I'd actually had my haircut. Like, it was literally short as fuck. Like, I don't get it, you know. That seems like their go-to answer, whether it makes sense or not. And I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just weird. But that's just what they do, because they don't want to admit that there's actually more to it than that. It's just, you know, a good-looking guy is still going to be a good-looking guy, regardless of whether his fucking clothing is whatever, you know. Because that's why they take male model, like, looking people for clothing. They all have the same face. When you look at a row of male models, they all have the same fucking face. They might as well be clones of each other. I mean, sure, you've got people that stand out, like fucking Oprah, or what's that ginger fuck from Australia, Jordan Barrett. Yeah, people like that stand out. But when you look at like generic male models, they all have a face like a bicycle seat. They all, like, you know, have that same sort of look about them, you know, which makes sense why girls all swipe on the same 2 to 5%, because they all want a clone, you know. I'd imagine if they made like the perfect sort of male thing, like 6 foot whatever. It seems to go up every year. It used to be the 6 foot was the ideal man. Now it's apparently 6'4". Now you've got one saying that they want somebody who's 6'7". Like, what do you want to date, a fucking basketball player? You want Shaq? Like, what the fuck, you know? Like 6'7". I've heard some girls say that the other day. This fucking girl that I'm talking to, or she's an older like friend of mine, said that she wants a guy who to be 6'4" because she's short. Like, what? But like, I just don't get that. Like, say you created like the ideal guy at the time. I guess it's kind of like the new iPhone, eh? It's like as soon as the new model comes out, the old one's crap, they want the new one, you know. So it's hard to keep up, you know. Their standards are fucking changing all the time. But like, say you created this perfect fucking guy for them, in order, like, according to their fucking preferences. He was like 6'4", and you know, like, more bones in his face than a fucking normal body, like, you know, fucking cheekbones, massive fucking jaw, all of this crap, you know. And they like say they cloned this guy and you could like buy him from a factory. I bet like every girl would just want this one same guy. They wouldn't give a shit if their girlfriends, their fucking aunties, their best friends, all the girls at the bars and whatever, were walking around with this exact same like cloned fucking man. They probably wouldn't care, eh? Because, you know, even though they want to outdo each other, you know, they probably wouldn't care, because like this one guy would just tick the boxes for like 90% of the female population, apart from, you know, like the whatever else, the small minority who have like a preference for something else, you know. It's just fucking nuts. But anyway, like, I've strayed away from the fucking subject again. But yeah, like, I would go on there and I just get like this fucking patronizing shit about saying like, oh, you know, I'm wearing the wrong clothing, or I have the wrong haircut, you know, and all this crap. Because haircuts really don't matter unless you're like, you know, unless you're say really good looking. It doesn't matter what hair you have, because it's not going to make you really better looking. Like, I understand that having a bad haircut can actually make someone look a lot worse or a lot better, but if you're not a conventionally attractive guy, having a better haircut isn't going to make you look attractive, you know. That's the thing, you know. It's just not going to do that, because you don't have the face to really pull it off. Yeah, anyway, so I never really got advice from there. Doesn't help with the fact that like the actual forum was something like 90% men, so men can't really judge other men. So that's the thing, you know. I don't want advice from guys, because they don't rate you with the same way that a girl would. But yeah, so that was pretty useless. And you'd say, oh, I don't want male advice because it's useless, and then they'd say, oh, personality, see, shut the fuck up, you know. Like, it's just bullshit. So that was useless, you know. I got so frustrated with doing that like so many times. I used to try the fucking Am I Ugly one as well, like the forum on Reddit, you know, and nobody would really ever give you a straight answer. They just bait you into fucking snapping and then blame your personality, because Reddit's full of a bunch of weak liberals who don't like admitting the truth. Anyway, I mean, I understand that like girls like rate guys in binary, which is like a 1 or a 0. You're either yes or a no, which makes sense from like the Tinder perspective as well, because, you know, it's like you get a yes or a no, you're either a fucking 9 or a 10, or you're nothing. But I've always wondered, like, how far away was I from being good enough? Because when I see these guys out in public and things, like, there are a lot of guys who are really fucking ugly out in public who have partners. And I think, yeah, maybe these girls aren't actually attracted to these guys, you know, because, I mean, by Tinder statistics, you know, there's no way they'd be swiping on their boyfriends if they met them online. Like, I mean, it just wouldn't happen, because, you know, like, collectively, if they're not fat, they only go for somebody who's skinny. I mean, they only go for somebody who's like a fucking 10 or whatever if they're lean, but like if the girl is skinny. But like the thing is, or not fat, but, you know, maybe they're with these guys that they're not attracted to. But what I can't understand is why the fuck I can't fucking find that, you know? Like, if I look better than some of these guys, how come I can't find somebody in real life, you know? Like, because I thought for a while that maybe these girls who are with these really ugly guys in public aren't actually attracted to them, and you know, maybe they're just like, why are they with them? You know, it's obviously not because of lack of options, because these girls can just go online and browse through Tinder, swipe their frickin' town or whatever, and match with a whole bunch of guys who look way better than they do, you know, and pick from them. So they're not like, it's not like the old days before social media when they can just like, you know, browse their social circle or people they meet in public, you know, and have them to choose from. But it's like these days, you know, they can go online and pick from fucking anybody, regardless of like their position themselves, you know, like they can find guys who are way better looking than they are. So obviously it's not a thing of options, you know. And even if they do resent these guys, even if they really don't like the fact that they're with them, they're still with them, they're still giving them attention. But the thing is, for me, is that the only thing I ever get from girls out in public is looks of resentment. Like, I get these looks that are like, ooh, you know, like these sideways, like, looks like, oh, I don't want, I've seen him fucking look at me, oh, you know, I don't trust this guy, you know, like shit like that. I get these fucking horrible sideways looks. I get like the ones who like, they walk past me and then they automatically shut up, like they're talking, and then they get like, say, 3 or so meters ahead, like in front of me, and then as they're passing, they shut up, and then they start talking about 2 meters, like once they got like past me. And I don't really understand that shit.